So, mathematical operations. Let's look at how do we add complex numbers together. Well, we do them by parts. You cannot intermix the real and the imaginary. So we have to add each part together separately. The complex numbers must be in rectangular form in order to add them. The rule is add the real parts of each complex number to get the real part of the sum, then add the imaginary j parts of each complex number to get the j part of the sum. So the example says we want to add 8 plus j5 to 2 plus j1, and we want to add 20 minus j10 and 12 plus j6. So to do this, we add together each of the parts separately, and then the answer becomes one of a complex number. So 8 plus 2, j5 plus j1, which we can see in the second step. 8 plus 2 is 10, j5 plus 1 is j6. So that one's pretty simple. So for the second one then, 20 plus 12, 10 plus 6. So 20 plus 12 gives us 32, and j minus 10 plus 6 gives us a minus j4. So 32 minus j4 becomes our answer when we add the mathematical complex numbers together. Subtraction is done virtually the same way. Subtract the real parts, subtract the imaginary parts. So if we're going to subtract 1 plus j2 from 3 plus j4, you can see 3 minus 1, j4 minus j2 gives us 3 minus 1 is 2, 4 minus 2 is 2, and our difference then is 2 plus j2. The same thing for example B, 10 minus j8 from 15 plus j15. So 15 minus 10, 15 minus, which becomes a plus 8. Okay, so 15 minus 10 plus j15 plus 8. So we end up with 5 plus j23. In multiplication, multiplication of two complex numbers in rectangular form is accomplished by multiplying in turn each term in one number by both terms in the other number, and then combining the resulting real terms and the resulting j terms. Recall that j times j, or j squared, is equal to a minus 1. So you can see by the little demonstration here, we have 5 times 2, 5 times j4, j3 times j4, j3 times 2. So 5 times 2 is 10. Okay. Minus j20, well, our terms for minus j20 are j6 or j5, 3 times 2 is 6, and then we combine our j terms with j 4 times 5. So anyway, when you multiply them out, you end up with 10 minus j20 plus j6 plus 12. Combine the j terms together, 20 and 6. Okay, it's a difference there. So we're left with minus j14, and 10 and 12 gives us 22. So it's easier to do than to try to explain it. So you're just going through and you're multiplying each term together and then sorting out the j terms and the real terms and combining them accordingly. Multiplication of two complex numbers is easier when both of the numbers, though, are in polar form. So it's best to convert to polar form before multiplying. So in this example, we're going to multiply 10 at an angle of 45 times 5 at an angle of 20. So in this case, it's 10 times 5. Nothing, you don't have to do any manipulating there. And then add the angles, 45 and 20, which gives us 65. In the second one, we've got 2 times 4, 60 minus 30. So we have 2 times 4 is 8. 60 plus or minus 30 gives us 30. So it's a lot easier to multiply in polar form than to do it as a rectangular. Lastly, we look at division. Division of two complex numbers in rectangular form is accomplished by multiplying both the numerator and the denominator by something called the complex conjugate. Again, I recommend you go and look at my ET132B descriptions on this, because in the math class there were more examples and things there. But we'll go ahead and continue this. So the complex conjugate in the denominator, then combining terms and simplifying. The complex conjugate of a number then is found by changing the sign of the j term and then doing the operations. So in this case, we're going to divide 5 plus j10 by 2 plus j4. Okay, so in doing that, you can see our complex conjugate is 2 minus j4 when we change the sign, and we're going to multiply these two terms together in the parentheses and these two terms together in the parentheses. Okay, in doing so, we end up with 20 minus j30 plus 20 for the terms in the numerator. In the denominator, we end up with 2 times 4 is 4, j4, and j4 gives us 16. We lose the j, so we end up with 4 plus 16 in the denominator when we multiply all of our terms together. So 40 minus j30 divided by 20 gives us 20 goes into 40 2 times, 20 goes into j30 1.5 times. So like multiplication, again, division is easier when the numbers are in polar form. Okay, so let's look at the simpler way to do it. We're going to divide 100 at 50 degrees by 25 at 20 degrees. So in doing that, we have 100 over 25, and then we take the difference in the angles, 50 minus 20. So 25 goes into 100 4 times. The difference of 50 and 20 is 30 degrees. For the next example, 15 at 10 degrees, 3 at minus 30. Again, we have 15 divided by 3, and then the angles, we take the difference. 10 minus a minus 30 means we add them. So we have 10 plus 30 gives us 40, and 3 goes into 15 5 times. So dealing with the complex numbering system and adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing.